What's going on, Island Hoppers? Today we're coming to you from Istanbul, Turkey, one of the most amazing cities in all of Europe and, in fact, all of the world. Napoleon Bonaparte was once quoted as saying, "If the world was one, Istanbul would be its capital." In this travel guide, we're going to show you all around the best things to do. Let's go. First up, we're going to talk about the Blue Mosque, also known as Sultanahmet Mosque. Now, this Ottoman era imperial mosque, located right in the heart of old Istanbul, was said to have been built in between the year 1609 and 1616 during the rule of Ahmed I. Named the Blue Mosque because of the blue tiles used to decorate the interior, as well as the blue paint that dominates the top of the actual domes. Next up, we're going to take you across the Golden Horn to the Galata Tower. Now, this old tower is over 205 feet tall, and it was built in 1349. Originally constructed as a lookout tower along a defense wall. This structure from the Middle Ages was originally called the Tower of Christ. During the era of the Ottomans, it served as a jail, but nowadays you can go to the top and walk around for 360-degree panorama. Also, it is a museum. Now, while in Istanbul, you may consider getting the museum pass, and this is one of those places that's included in that museum pass. That pass includes free entry to 12 museums and costs 700 lira, which comes out to around $37 US. And from here, we're going to head over to the Grand Bazaar, a place where you can find Turkish rugs, and it's one of the largest and oldest covered markets in the world, with 61 covered streets and over 4,000 shops. It truly is a grand bazaar. It is also known as the world's oldest shopping mall. While here, you can expect clean but crowded streets. As you can see, many people come to the Grand Bazaar. Along with Turkish rugs, you can also find Persian rugs and plenty of other silk and cashmere products, along with lots of jewelry. So if jewelry is something you're looking for, Istanbul has you covered. And as we continue to show you around Istanbul, I want to remind you that there's timestamps below, as well as links in the description around other videos related to Turkey. So be sure to use those timestamps and the links to other videos in the description. As we continue around, we're going to the Bosphorus, and this time we're going to ride a boat. Now, the Bosphorus is a very important waterway throughout history. Not only is it the strait that joins the Mediterranean Sea with the Black Sea, it is also the continental boundary between Asia and Europe that divides Turkey by separating Anatolia from Thrace, which is the European side. There are several different boat tours that will take you around the blue waters of the Bosphorus, and when I say blue waters, you should check out these colors, right? But you can take a yacht or you could take a ferry boat. Some people just simply ride the water taxis. The prices vary. If you take a 2.5-hour cruise, expect to pay around 300 to 400 Turkish lira, which comes out to around 20 to 25 US dollars. A narrated cruise like this will allow you to learn about the history of the Bosphorus and how important this place really is in terms of historical relevance. Along with views of two very impressive bridges that connect Europe and Asia, you'll get to see how many mosques are really out there on the horizon around Istanbul. Next up, we're going to head back to Sultanahmet, which is the main area of the old town. This is the obelisk of Theodosius, also known as the Hippodrome. And this slice of Egyptian history was actually brought over by Roman Emperor Theodosius, right here to what was formerly known as Constantinople in the 4th century AD. Standing over 60 feet tall, this is a very important historical relic sitting right here in Sultanahmet. And just down the way from the Hippodrome is the Hagia Sophia, which is a very old mosque. Originally built in 360 AD, it lasted as a Greek Orthodox church until 1460, when the Ottoman Turks took over Constantinople. When inside the mosque, you will actually see some of the old paintings from when it was a Greek Orthodox church, but mostly you will see Arabic scriptures from the Quran on the walls. Along with these amazing chandeliers that hang from the roof, you can also see this mosaic of Jesus. Non-Muslims are allowed to visit this beautiful religious site. You will need to take off your shoes and adhere to appropriate customs and respects while you're inside the actual Hagia Sophia. When we visited in 2022, The Blue Mosque was closed, but this one was fully open as the Blue Mosque was undergoing renovations. Outside of the Hagia Sophia, you will see an area where you can take a bath and bathe and cleanse yourself. Now that we've shown you several things to do inside of Sultanahmet, let's talk about Sultanahmet in general. So you're going to have a courtyard, 2 mosques, main mosque, a square area, and just outside of the neighborhood of Sultanahmet, you will find many different restaurants where you can get great Turkish food, which we will be highlighting here soon. Also, you can see they have plenty of outdoor shopping. This is basically in between Sultanahmet and the Grand Bazaar is this area of incredible shopping that you will be able to find. And my recommendation as you're exploring Istanbul, the top place you want to be really is going to be the Sultanahmet area and that neighborhood. You don't necessarily have to get your hotel there, but that at least is where you want to explore for 1 or 2 days because they have museums, they have the mosque, and all that. Next up, let's talk about something else that's really culturally important to Turkey is the tea. And if you think you're coming to Istanbul and you're not going to drink tea, think again because it's really going to be encouraged to drink some tea. And the reason is because Turkey has the highest per capita tea consumption in the world. Now, when in Istanbul, visiting the museums is definitely going to have to be on your list. As I mentioned previously, you had the Galata Museum and you have the Islamic Museum, but you have many other museums that you should check out. And to make that simple, you will want to get the museum pass if you intend to visit 1 or more museums while in Istanbul. The museum pass costs around 700 Turkish lira, but it's worth its weight in gold if you intend to visit several different museums while you're staying here, so I found it to be a great value, since it includes 12 of the most premier museums in the metro area. Now remember, Istanbul is a very large city, so do block out around 7 to 10 days to properly explore Istanbul. Sure, you can do it in 72 hours, but to properly do it, 7 to 10 days is advised. And the good news, while here, you get to try all types of different Turkish cuisine. Turkish food is one of my favorite foods in all of the world, in particular kebab. Like this flaming clay pot known as testi kebab. And those Turkish foods include baklava, doner kebab. Also, some of the veggies that you can include in this list are going to be eggplant, zucchinis, garlic, tomatoes, and chilies. Very popular inside of Turkish cuisine, along with breads, like this caviar spread, or zucchini fritter, or even falafel. Flatbreads are also very popular while here, and salad. Gotta get those greens in. Plenty of variety of creamy sauce and yogurt, as well as olives. And some of the beefs you can expect are going to be lamb, sheep, goat, and chicken, but don't expect much pork. And the typical fast food in Turkey is going to be a shish kebab, which is typically in a brick oven, and they'll slice off pieces of it. If they put it into a flat bread and fold it, that is the doner kebab. Rice is also a primary staple of Turkish cuisine. Now, when it comes to dessert, there's one that's going to stand out above all else, and that is called Turkish Delight. So get ready to get you some Turkish Delight when you arrive in Istanbul. And these red food stalls that you'll see in Sultanahmet, for example, will have corn and other types of bread, as well as some nuts. Along with the Grand Bazaar, there's also another bazaar that's worth checking out. It's called the Egyptian Bazaar, Mazir Karasisi, from 1664. Now, even though it still has the old name as the Egyptian Bazaar, I would say it's mostly Turkish influence, which includes lots of spices, which we're going to talk about a little later on. And here there are 85 different shops selling everything from Turkish delight, sweets, jewelry, souvenirs, dried fruits and nuts, and of course, spices, as we mentioned. The Egyptian Bazaar is right along the Bosphorus, so it is in the direction of the Golden Horn. You would probably walk about 15 minutes to go from the Egyptian Bazaar to the Grand Bazaar, so you can really do both in one day. And also, if you guys are enjoying this video so far, I would encourage you to watch our other videos from Turkey, as we made 5 in total, including down by the Turkish Riviera. Links below in the description and in the comments. Now we're going to take you over to the Bosphorus, and if riding a boat around the Bosphorus on the water is not your thing, you can simply walk along the waterfront and see what's going on both sides. Really a beautiful stroll, especially at sunset or in the early morning hours. The old Galata Bridge actually spans across the Golden Horn, but you can also go across the Bosphorus Bridge. So there are different areas that you can walk around on the Asian side, on the European side. So definitely something to consider while in Istanbul, because it's going to be all around you. And as I said previously, that blue color of the Bosphorus is really warming. Sometimes just watching the boats go under the bridge or around the Bosphorus and the Golden Horn area is also fun. People watching, and some people do fishing, of course. Now, when you explore the other side of the waterway, you're going to end up in Taksim Square. That's a great starting point as you endeavor to explore other streets and neighborhoods like Istiklal. And the area around here is known as the modern heart of Istanbul. You can catch trams and also catch historical tours from here. And where you would get a tour or take the tram is down Istiklal, which is one of the most impressive roads you will walk anywhere in Europe or Asia, but certainly my favorite here in Istanbul. And this street actually begins at Taksim Square and ends in Galata Tower, so you have a lot of area in between to explore. There's going to be arcades, there's going to be bookstores, cinemas, museums, and lots of other things for you to see along this road. Consider getting an ice cream cone from one of the ice cream parlors along the side of the road, or a haircut. Doing whatever you really want here is the main thing along this pedestrian walkway. As I said previously, they do have a tram that you can take up and down the road. That's the only type of traffic you're going to see other than pedestrian traffic. And when it comes to foot traffic, there is a lot of it here. Certainly add this to your list. Next, we're going to head back across the waterway to Topkapi Palace. This incredible palace is certainly something to add to your list, as it sits right at the edge of the peninsula headed towards the Bosphorus. So you can imagine the geographical historical relevance of this place. And from about the 1460s to the 1850s, this served as the administrative center of the Ottoman Empire. Next up, let's talk public transportation in Istanbul, whether it be riding the tram or taking the water taxi. Getting around Istanbul on public transportation is certainly an efficient way to get around. And the Istanbul Metro, which includes a subway, opened in the year 2000, and it's friendly for locals and tourists alike. You're more than welcome to take taxis to get around, but it does take time to go short distances because of traffic. Now let's talk about spice markets in general. We just talked about the Egyptian market being a great place to go for spices, but let's talk about the diversity in spices that you'll find here. Everything from garlic to turmeric to saffron. If you love to cook, this is a place you will learn about gastronomy, including thyme, mint, cumin, sumac, bay leaf, cinnamon, red pepper flakes, but mainly chili, sea salt, pepper, and saffron are the big kick out here. And honestly, I had no idea how precious saffron really was, but also expect some dried fruits, including dried figs and apricots. Okay, if you're looking for a all-in-one tour that will get you around to the main places if it's your first time, I do recommend the hop-on, hop-off bus. However, you are going to need to bring your patience, because driving a big bus around Istanbul to all of the tourist destinations has its benefits, but it also has its downsides, because Istanbul traffic can really make you want to pull your hair out at times. But if you're a patient soul, the big bus might just be for you with hop on, hop off. If you do choose to go the hop on, hop off route, I would recommend you get an early start on your day. Next up, let's talk about Turkish baths. Turkish baths are a place where you get to relax and get a full body scrub with different types of salts and other types of exfoliation procedures. It can be relaxing, they put creams in your hair, and you really walk away from there with a therapeutic experience. Next up, let's talk about the German fountain. This is some foreign influence right here in Istanbul, keeping in mind that Istanbul, formerly known as Constantinople under the Byzantine Empire, was a very worldly city. This gazebo-style fountain has a mosaic on the inside and worth a look while in Istanbul. Next up, shopping in general across Istanbul. It doesn't necessarily have to be at a bazaar. It can be at a clothing store. You will notice that the clothing quality here is high, but sometimes it is grade A or grade B copies. So it might have a designer name on it, but it is not the original, although for a copy, it does pretty good for quality control. I personally like to buy the Turkish quality clothing that doesn't have a fake designer label on it because it's more authentic to me, in my opinion. Bear in mind, haggling is part of your experience, while in Istanbul, it's just part of the culture. So that means if you see an original price, do not hesitate to ask for a better price because they expect you to do that when shopping in Istanbul. Another very exquisite palace, both inside and outside, is the Dolmabahce Palace. Mainly seen from the Bosphorus Strait, it will catch your attention while on one of those boat tours, but if you take the time to go inside, you'll be equally impressed with what you will see. Next up, let's talk about the Column of Constantine, the emperor of the Byzantine Empire for the Romans. But also, along with the Constantine column, you will find the walls of old Constantinople. Just exploring that history really is interesting. If you can find a tour, I would recommend it. Now, if you've ever wanted a really classy rug for your home, Turkish rugs might just be what you're looking for. Obviously, there's Persian rugs and there's cashmere rugs, but a Turkish rug, if you feel it, you will really be impressed. They do go up in price as you use them. So they say that they're a collector's item, so it's something that you can consider an investment. A nice rug, don't be surprised if it costs you anywhere between $2,000 to $5,000 US. Let's go back to talking about the walls of Constantine. You can see right here the old city walls. As you walk around, you can get a feel for what you would see in Rome right here in Istanbul. They've preserved the history, but they've also destroyed a lot of it, unlike you would see in Rome. The eastern part of the Roman Empire was known as the Byzantines, but bear in mind, the entire empire's capital was right at Constantinople before they moved it back to Rome. So the history and the ruins and the rubble that you find around here is very historically significant to the Roman Empire. Although, remember, the Ottomans took Constantinople in a major military siege. Now, along with Turkish baths, self-care in Turkey is another thing that you can consider because they have very many herbal remedies for your skin, your hair, and you can find all of that here. So if you're looking to get taken care of in a healthy way, including hair replacement, you can do that right here because hair replacement in Istanbul is one of the most popular things that foreign tourists come here for. There's also the Basilica Cistern right here near Sultanahmet. You can go inside the cisterna. It's very dark down here, but it's one of the largest of several hundred ancient cisterns that lie beneath the city of Istanbul. So taking a look down here, obviously it is a dark place, so keep that in mind if you're trying to bring a camera. But anyways, guys, that's going to conclude this episode of Istanbul Top Things to Do. If you enjoyed it, smash the like button. Consider subscribing to the channel. And as I said previously, watch some more of our other videos from across Turkey. You will be happy you tuned into those. So click one of these links right here. I will put the link to the full playlist right here in the end screen.